So who is it going to copy? The Jubilee. Is the Jubilee going to pull cards from the other two lanes? Oh my gosh. This deck is wild. Hello everyone, TLSG here, back again with another Marvel Snap video. So first off, I want to say thank you guys for all of the support and the continued feedback and positivity. It was 2 videos ago that I was asking you guys to help me get to 500 subs, and now we're already almost at 600 subs. So that's a span of less than 2 full days. All of the support has just been overwhelming, and so I really do appreciate it, guys. If we keep up at that pace, it's going to be next week that I'm thanking you guys for 1,000. With that being said, it is time for us to pull our mystery card. We did reach the next mystery card on the collection level, so let's go ahead and pull it and see what card we're drafting with today. Oh, yes. So Arnim Zola. I have a couple of ideas with Arnim Zola. So Arnim Zola, on reveal, destroy a random friendly card here, add copies of it to other locations. So initially, it's 6 cost, 0 power, so there's a pretty big drawback to it, right? So how do we utilize it well? The couple of decks that I have in mind, he seems like he would slot really well into a Mr. Negative deck, one of my favorite cards right now. And the other one that I have in mind, I don't have all of the pieces needed for it yet, so I'm going to keep it under wraps for now, but expect this card to return for some shenanigans later on. Alright, so we drafted a deck, and this is a very straightforward, standard Mr. Negative cycle deck. So we have all of the good components to help make sure we get Mr. Negative onto the board, but we also have our Arnim Zola, we have our kind of high-end cards that are going to really benefit us if they get inversed. Just starting with the first card, the Hood. The Hood is here mainly as a cycle tool to be used with Lockjaw, and it generates a 1 power or 1 cost 6 power token that we can throw onto the board pretty easily. Okoye is very similar. We don't want to drop Okoye until after we use Mr. Negative, or else all of our cards are going to cost 1 additional energy. So we want to hold this and then use it as a cycle tool. If we cycle him once, twice, then we get an additional +2 upside to every card that we're generating onto the board. So we can get some pretty decent upside for a pretty cheap cost. The third card is Ironheart. Very standard. He, on reveal, give 3 other cards +2 power. So if you're cycling him and you hit him a couple of times, that's +12 power across the board for pretty cheap, especially if he's been hit with Mr. Negative and he costs 0. And then similar to Ironheart, except for this impacts just this card, is Wolfsbane. On reveal, +2 power for each other card you have here. If you hit this twice, you can potentially have a 13 power card. If it's been inversed, 16 power card for what? 2 cost over the 2 uses for pretty cheap, very good use. We have Lockjaw, which is going to be our cycle initiator. We're going to use him to cycle our lower cost cards to generate our high cost cards after we get Mr. Negative onto the board. And then as a worst case scenario, if we don't have Mr. Negative by turn 4, and we have Lockjaw on the board, we can start cycling to try and generate Mr. Negative a little bit easier so that we can make sure we have him and we get him played. And then Iron Man, an amazing Mr. Negative card. 0 cost, 5 power that doubles. Beautiful. Same thing with Taskmaster. If we hit this with a Devil Dinosaur, if we hit this on an Iron Man, it's going to be a 0 cost, 10 power card. You can't ask for anything better. And then a 5 cost, 1 power card is going to shift, and it's going to be 1 cost, 5 power that generates a 7 power token. So White Tiger, very good with Mr. Negative. As long as we can make sure that we generate and we get Mr. Negative's upside, then all of these cards become really, really powerful. And to make sure that we get Mr. Negative, we have things like Jubilee, Lockjaw, in the off chance that we don't draw him, to kind of help force him onto the board. And then closing it all in, we have Arnim Zola. So Arnim Zola, if he's hit with Mr. Negative, becomes a 0 cost 6 power card. And then it's going to destroy a random friendly card. So ideally, it's something like an inversed Iron Man in an empty lane, shooting into the other 2. Then all of a sudden, you have 2 more 10 power cards in your other 2 lanes that are also duplicating all of the other power in that lane. And it becomes really big really quickly. So a lot of really cool uses, and I think we can take this and make it strategic with where we place our cards, with what target we try and hit, to swing games that we otherwise probably would have lost. And so this is one of the cards that I've been really excited about pulling, so I am excited to go ahead and jump in. We have the graphics all set up already. We're gonna go ahead and jump into some games and see how this goes. All right, so first up we have No Lux Given. We have the Dream Dimension, so on turn 5, cards cost 1 more. It's pretty rough. If we can draw into some cards that have the upside from Mr. Negative by that point. Maybe we can drop Okoye onto Lockjaw to generate some cards out onto the board, even though the cost is going to be a little bit more expensive. And they have a Squirrel Girl, so we've been seeing a whole lot of Swarm decks lately. So let's see if this is going to be able to kind of stand up with that power burst that they have. Alright, so they drop an Okoye at this point. And it looks like they're going to go very, very wide. Usually Squirrel Girl is not opted for later on once you have tools to kind of make sure that you're getting the upside that you need. Let's go ahead and drop him into the hub. We will drop Mr. Negative next turn into Kunlun, and then we're going to start cycling on turn 5 to try and get as much upside out of our Mr. Negative as possible. And I think we're going to be able to get him pretty large. We have 2 of our low 1-cost cards that can be used to cycle, so we may accidentally draw an early Arnim Zola. That's okay. And then we also have a lot of other good tools. Like the only 2 bad cards that we could pull from Lockjaw after Mr. Negative has been played is the Hood and Okoye, and those aren't terrible either. And so overall, I think this is going to be a pretty good deck, and I think we're going to get a pretty good game out of this. So turn 5, of course, the cards are going to cost 1 extra, but we have low-cost cards. Oh, we got Taskmaster. Beautiful. Just beautiful. Okay. The last card I played was the 4-cost card. Do I want to use that as a potential cycle? On reveal, set this power equal to the power of the last card you played. So what I'm thinking is if I play Okoye and then Taskmaster, he's going to be set to 1 power. And then if I play him again, does he stay at 1 power, I wonder? We're going to try it out. We're going to cycle all of these cards. And I anticipate getting a White Tiger, potentially a Wolfsbane and an Ironheart, maybe even a Jubilee, which would be bad, but it's been inverse, so it at least has 4 power. Let's go ahead and see. Let's go ahead and see what all we spam out onto the board. We may hit an Arnim Zola right off the bat, and it just be bad. So we can't get Wolfsbane. We actually have that in hand. So Okoye is going to buff up our deck. We're going to send him straight back in there. It is a Jubilee, so it feels kind of bad, but that's okay. So it's going to copy the 1 power of Okoye. We're going to send him back. Arnim Zola. So who is it going to copy? The Jubilee. Is the Jubilee going to pull cards from the other 2 lanes? Oh my gosh. This deck is wild. This deck is truly wild. Oh my god. What a turn 5. Good lord. So then we pull Okoye back out, which is not great, but not terrible either. Oh man. Yeah, with a turn 5 like that, I'd leave too. Jesus. How? Okay. So that felt very, very satisfying. Now, are we gonna high roll like that every single time? Probably not. But was it fun? Absolutely. All right, paper cuts. So if we can get our combo off, I am so sorry for what we are about to do to you. So very... Oh no! Weird World. We both draw from our opponent's decks. Oh boy. So that means we do not want to drop Okoye at all, because then that's going to buff our deck, which he's going to draw from. So are we able to win this one without anything? Probably not. I don't feel good about this one. But maybe we can drop a Devil Dino into a Taskmaster to sneak out some power onto the board that he wouldn't be anticipating. We do have Nakia, so we may have a shot. We may have a shot. Of course, this is not an Arnim Zola type deck, but I think we have a decent shot with what we have in hand. We play it kind of slow, but we generate some pretty big value out of the Devil Dino, and then basically a second Devil Dino, knowing that in my deck I don't run anything that's going to counter that at this point, because we don't see it that often. And I think we just leave these in our hand to buff up our Devil Dinosaur. So I am just going to drop the Nakia. That's going to buff up our Taskmaster and our Devil Dino. Our Taskmaster won't retain the buff, of course, once it sets to whatever the Devil Dino is, but that's okay. And so they had a wide deck. They're still playing their pieces and their components, so they haven't played any of ours just yet. So we can switch this back, but do we want to? I don't think we do. Do we do... Do we play both? No, we wait a turn. We can always target Ant-Man later, but Taskmaster is going to be set on whatever we have at the time that we play him. And so I want to make sure that is as big as possible. And so that Jubilee that she drew from my deck is actually going to pull a card from hers or his or theirs. And so Jubilee being in my deck would pull a pretty large unit, but in theirs it is pulling one of their swarm cards. So it's not quite as efficient or effective. And so this being the turn before last, I think what we do is we set Taskmaster here, unless with 7 power, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So once we get Taskmaster onto the board, his power is set. It doesn't matter if we dump our hand or not. And so if we send him, we can swarm our deck onto the board if we, depending on what we draw. And then his power is going to be his power regardless. We can put enough power into the Devil Dino lane that it doesn't matter that we used his power, or I guess got rid of his power. And so depending on what we draw, and with a wide deck, yeah, we can dump all of them. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's wow, absolutely wow. So I don't think we're gonna win Baxter Building because Devil Dino is going to be a big old goose egg. And so it's a higher priority for us to change that one. And actually, if that's the case, does it... Oh no, I'm going to have to reset all of them. Okay. Okay. So let's do this a little bit quicker. Let's do this. No. We can send him over to the left because we know that he has one there. Okay. So that's going to give us an additional 3 power on the left-hand side, or I guess the right-hand side, because we're not planning on fighting for this one anyways, so it doesn't matter if we destroy their Ant-Man. By using Electra here, we're going to destroy their Blade, and then I think we can swing the power. I'm going to snap. Oh man, maybe I shouldn't have snapped. I wanted to see it play out, honestly. So we're going up against another one of those fancy bots. We have an Onslaught bot. And the first location was Sokovia. He discarded a Vision. I discarded a Jubilee. So I think I had a little bit more downside out of it, considering what our deck is and how it intends to run. But we do have Lockjaw in hand. Muir Island is a bit of a concern because it's going to buff up their cards each turn, and I don't have anything that I'm going to be playing there just yet. So maybe I drop Lockjaw in that lane. Ooh, and we get a Limbo, which is big, and we draw into Mr. Negative. I like to try and avoid bot games, but this one I think is going to be so high roll. I think this one is going to be so large. He morphed into our Mr. Negative, and I don't really know what that means for his deck. Of course, he doesn't get as much upside out of it, but I'm sure he gets some. Let's go ahead and do an Okoye and a Wolfsbane and an Ironheart. We're gonna cycle the crap out of this. We're gonna cap out our Muir Island, and that way we can get the upside of that +1 each turn, and we're gonna get a lot of upside out of just however this resolves. Because in our deck we have Iron Man, we have Arnim Zola. We're gonna be able to cycle every single lane. Not like the best use of Arnim Zola, but it's a use. Oh no, these aren't gonna cycle now. Rough. It's so rough. Okay, So we definitely want to cycle the hood. We might as well cycle Devil Dino. And do we want to cycle Iron Man, or do we want to just drop him mid to push that one over the top? We're going to snap. It's a bot. We're going to snap. We're going to lock it in. I think that's a good place. And depending on when we cycle into Taskmaster, we don't know what it'll exactly pull. And so we get a Koye again, so that's another +2 to cards in our deck. And so we draw into White Tiger, which is now a 7, which generates a 7 token. So it's a 14 power card that we got for 1. So very, very big upside to that. And with 50 power, there's no way. You could have all the Novas in the world, and it is not going to make a difference, my friend. So what do we have in deck now? We have 2 cards in deck. We have Taskmaster. I don't know what else we have besides Taskmaster. So I am going to drop the demon first. I don't know if Taskmaster, I don't know how Taskmaster would resolve. If, let's say, we cycle the demon back in and then the hood pulls Taskmaster afterwards. I don't know if it would copy the 6 or not, but I think we're just gonna play it and see. So Taskmaster is going to copy nothing. Oh, we had Devil Dino back in our deck, which is kind of unfortunate. So Taskmaster copied the White Tiger. So it was a bot showing, but it was a good showing nonetheless. Okay, so we do have the hood. And for the location, we drew into Bar with No Name. So it's a pretty good location for this draw. I think I want to kind of conceal the fact that I have the hood, though. We, of course, also have Mr. Negative. Unfortunately, we have Arnim Zola and Taskmaster, 2 of our better targets for the Mr. Negative effect in hand, but that's okay. If we can get an Iron Man, that'd be fantastic. Oh, that makes our Arnim Zola target difficult. So I think more than likely we will opt to not use Arnim Zola in this game, just because there's no way to guarantee it. At that point, it becomes a coin flip, and I don't want to come down to a coin flip. So they have a multiple man, a Koye. They don't have a lot of great cards out right now. And so I think I'm going to drop Mr. Negative just in the mid lane. Do they have Hulkbuster, and they're just going to... Oh, they got the coin flip. So they had the 50-50 shot of it merging with a squirrel or with multiple man, and they got it. So now when they shift him around, it'll be beneficial. So we did draw our Devil Dino. So I think what we want to do is we'll play our Devil Dino, we'll play our Taskmaster, we'll just pay for him outright. Next turn, we will probably drop Iron Man and the hood here, just to surprise them. If they don't change this location, then it's a sneaky win, we get it. If they shift everything over to the left with Heimdall, that also becomes really difficult. So I'm not really sure what their plan is here, but I think that's our plan. And so we did get Ironheart, so actually I want to drop Ironheart now and then drop the hood. That way whenever it's not going to accidentally buff him up to the point where, ooh, we probably would have opted to not use Ironheart at all, because it could have hit the squirrel and lost us the lane. But overall, it's a victory. It didn't come to a conclusion. We didn't get to do some really high skill cap plays, but we won nonetheless. I think more so because of their bad draws and our good draws. All right, guys, so I don't know if we're going to get in on turn 1. The game actually crashed on the computer on BlueStacks, so I loaded in on my phone. We are connected. The first location is Bar with No Name. We have in hand Mr. Negative, Arnim Zola, Devil Dino, and White Tiger. So a decent starting hand, but not the best. We could have the hood, which would benefit us quite a bit. So now we're back in, and so now we did draw into the hood, which is perfect. I think I'm just going to go ahead and skip this turn though, that way we can keep it a secret. I don't want to drop it. That lets them know that they have, you know, outright lost, if that's the case. And so they drop Nakia, so they have both of their hand buffs out onto the board already. And they get a, oh no. They get, we're having the worst luck tonight, guys. So X-Mansion top decked them a Black Bolt, which caused us to drop. It caused us to drop our hood, which would have won us bar with no name. So I think we have to change plans tentatively. Right now I'm going to drop Devil Dino. I'm going to drop Taskmaster here next turn, because this is the last turn that cards can be played here. So I'm going to drop a Devil Dino. I'm going to drop Taskmaster next turn, followed by potentially Iron Man or Iron Heart. I don't know which one, but this is going to copy the 10 power from Devil Dino, and then we can kind of see what they play, because all they have are 2 slots, and so they're not going to be able to really play next turn unless they have something that will change this location, or which might be the case. They might have a Scarlet Witch, and they're just going to go for a discounted win there. So they have 3 cards. I guess I could have played Devil Dino here and dropped Arnim Zola, which would have duplicated across these 2. Really? So we managed to draw into the 4 highest cost cards in our deck. And pretty much any upside from Mr. Negative at this point would be minimal. So we're having really, really bad luck with this deck. Just the way that it's drawing into is just awful. Well, there's okay, so Sakaar pulls in a card. It pulls in their Blade, which discards their Khazar. So we are seeing a lot of Swarm decks. So outside of like the mystery card pool, what I'm running is like an anti-Swarm deck. That'll probably be the next video, is how do we counter them flooding the board. There's a couple of ways. We can do like, we can either do like a Debris, we can do like a Professor X, like sneak out a Professor X that locks down one of the lanes they don't have as much room to play in. We can do like a Killmonger, a few different things that we can do that I think I'll probably make the next video around. But for this video, let's get a solid win with our Arnim Zola. So we're unfortunately dropping quite a few cubes for games that become a coin flip of what do you cycle out? What does Arnim Zola target? We're dropping a few cubes here and there because of that, which feels unfortunate. It doesn't feel good to drop those for sure. But I think you're playing the odds. You're playing the odds of that outcome being positive. And so if you are within a certain range, you're going to have streaks of bad luck. But that doesn't always reflect the deck as a whole. You just have to kind of try to remember not to get tilted, because that's when you start dropping a lot of cubes really quickly. So I'm gonna drop Mr. Negative. We did get Elysium, which allows us to drop Mr. Negative on turn 3. An interesting note about Arnim Zola: if I drop him, let's say play an Iron Man here, and I drop Arnim Zola into this lane as well, it will attempt to destroy the Iron Man, but it won't kill the Iron Man. It'll still duplicate it, which is an incredible amount of upside. So how do we want to play this? So in our deck we still have Iron Man, we still have our white tiger. We still have lockjaw. We have some pretty decent cards in there. Do I want to go ahead and use our taskmaster though? I could do something like this and this, which will allow me to, that's going to be 8. Is 8 big enough? Do we, or do we wait? Like there's no rush in pushing out our taskmaster. We can always do it the first card next turn. I think we wait. We played our Devil Dino and we just kind of see what they are intending on playing, because they bursted out this lane. And we do get our 0 cost Iron Man, which is beautiful. You couldn't ask for better. So I think what we do is we kind of play conservative. We drop just the taskmaster here, which is going to copy the Devil Dino, which will go down to 12. I don't think we really need to rush out any of these other cards, because we want to keep our Devil Dino high for the taskmaster, because we are going to get a 10 power Iron Man across the lanes, which will feel really, really good. Really good. So yeah, I think we just lock in playing the one card. I don't feel like we need to just flood the board at this point. Now, if they have a Shang-Chi, if they're just waiting and playing an Infinite, then, I mean, we got this. So we do the Iron Man, we do the Arnim Zola here. After the Arnim Zola triggers, we're going to drop a White Tiger and an Okoye. So, or do we drop the, because this is going to go here, or do we drop the Okoye here? No, yeah, because we want the White Tiger to send something here as support. We want to make sure that this gets as big as it can get. So I think we drop the Okoye on this left side. That's going to make sure the Iron Man goes here. We already have enough power that I think it'll be okay. Ooh, but this comes down quite a ways, doesn't it? This comes all the way down to 4. Eesh. And then this one doesn't. So in that case, do we do that? Do we keep the Okoye in our hand? No. I think we play the Okoye here, because that would give us 12 to tie this lane at the very least, because Iron Man is going to attempt to be destroyed, but it's not going to be able to destroy him. And then that will make sure that we have enough power here, even though Devil Dino drops to nothing. Taskmaster is unaffected, so it'll still be, what, 40? Yeah, I think we're overthinking it, because that plus 10 Iron Man, I don't think there's a way to combat it. It's just so very, very strong. And so it is going to attempt to destroy the Iron Man. It's not going to be able to. It's going to duplicate him into the other lanes. Yeah, I think we were overthinking this way too much. We have a lot of power to burst out onto the board here. And so then they have Yellow Jacket. They flood this side, but it is, I don't think it can be enough. Like at this point, the swarm deck just didn't have it in the cards for them. We did end up stealing 2 of the 3 lanes. Well, it looks like it says we won this one, but we shouldn't have. But that is the type of high roll game that I was looking for. So this deck, I think it has a really high skill cap. From what I've played, it has a lot of potential. But you can shoot yourself in the foot by playing a Lockjaw and then maybe cycling into it too early whenever you have an Arnim Zola still in your deck. So a couple times I did make that mistake. I played the odds. Arnim Zola came out, killed the Lockjaw, and then our other 2 small cards that were going to be cycled that turn are then stuck, and then the other 2 become cycle lanes, and it becomes hard to get anything on the board. It's just not a good scenario. So you have to be smart with how you play this deck, and where you invest your resources. So I think it is a higher skill cap than most of the decks I've played. I want to keep playing around with it. I did drop like 1 full rank because of a couple of games where I was like, you know, it's a coin flip. I'm gonna double snap if we destroy this here, if we cycle into this here, and then we just get the low roll. but that's okay. I think you're going to have highs and lows with any deck. You just want to try and make it as consistent as possible. So I'm going to keep playing around with this deck. I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't come back at some point in the future, because it's really fun to play. It creates really, really big swings, really hard to anticipate swings that just feel so nice when they work well, but when they don't work well, it feels so bad. But anyways, guys, I am going to go ahead and end the video here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like, a comment down below. I love reading and interacting and responding to the comments that you guys leave. I appreciate all of the support that everybody has given me. It has really encouraged me to kind of keep going and really pushing what I can do, what kind of decks I can build, and how consistent I am with my videos and with my content. So thank you guys so much. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This has been TLSG. Later.